On this episode, we're joined by pianist-vocalist Aryelle Morrison. We'll talk a bit about her latest EP, Stereotypical, some of life's influence on her music, and of course some of the musical influences. So sit back, sip your poison, and enjoy the ride. I'm Kalen Capson, and this is the Pagan Place Podcast.
The feeling that you get when you listen to music, that you can get lost in a song, and just the feeling in your body more than, and sometimes it's the storytelling, sometimes it's the groove, but whether it's a happy song or a sad song, you can just kind of feel goosebumps. And I also like that when you play music, you can get that same magical feeling. Once you know a song and you're not thinking about like the mechanics of playing and the mechanics of singing and what are my lyrics, you can lose yourself in what you're doing and give yourself goosebumps. So
your EP, had you sat down to work on this EP, or was this something you had kind of worked over a period of time and just decided, you know what, I've got enough material now?
Good question. Yeah, it was more the second part. I just had 5 songs in my collection of stuff that I'd written that I was like, these are all good. I'm not embarrassed about these songs. So they became an EP. I actually didn't plan to make one. I was told when I went to open mics, specifically at O'Leary's, the musicians were really nice. I just started going and performing, not really expecting anything of it, and talking to the other musicians. They were like, well, why don't you do an EP? What are you waiting for? Like, just do it. Have something on the net. So that's when I went through my collection. Was like, what do I have that could fit that? Yeah.
How was your experience recording?
It was good. It was scary. Yeah. I put a lot of pressure on myself all the time. So it was a project that I wanted to go well. So I found it a little stressful that way. I worked with Adam Dinkorn, who's in town. He has a little studio, and he's great. Just one-man show. Does a lot. Really nice guy. So working with him was great. We've become friends since. Yeah, we did like just a few evenings in September last year.
Oh, really? So it was a quick...
Yeah, it's 5 songs, and it's just me, so it didn't take long. It was scary.
What was scary about it?
Just because it feels very final. This is the version you're going to release
shoot
to
off
the world.
Into the world. Yeah.
Yeah. You get kind of precious about it. That's what I was doing too. And that was one thing that Adam taught me. He was like, well, you've got to think about what people are actually going to hear the difference in. It's probably when you need to like walk away and come back. But
talk about your lyrics, because a lot of them seem a little, I don't know how to word it.
Personal. I start all my songs with my lyrics. I usually have something that I've been stewing over that's been bothering me for a while. And sometimes I set out to write a song, sometimes I don't. There's this exercise that some writer from New Brunswick, anyway, he came and he was saying, like, just sit down for 10 minutes and write whatever's on your mind. So sometimes my songs come from that. I'll just write a bunch of crap, and then there'll be one sentence that has some poetry to it, and it's usually something that's bothering me, and a song will come from that, and then I just build it around it. Other times I'll just be like in my car. The song A Year I wrote driving down the Sandy Point Road on my way to work one morning. The chorus just came out, and then I went home and filled in the rest. I guess that's more inspiration rather than the lyrics themselves.
But the inspiration is also part of the song process.
The meanings, again, it's not a project where I wrote the songs to fit together. I tend to write about existence a lot, just fears and stuff. So like, let's take a Stereotypical title song. It was just a list of things that made me feel ordinary. It makes you feel run-of-the-mill, day-to-day things, parking lots and waiting in a lineup. So I picked those just because of their visualness. And cubicles. I work in a cubicle. So they're just things that I picked out of my life. And I worked in an office with an endless parking lot. Literally, it took 5 minutes to walk across it. I always had to park at the back because I was always one of the last people there. So yeah, it just stuck with me that I was like, oh, if I was, had a higher position or more money or whatever, I could buy a spot close to the building and not have to do this. So it's kind of a status thing, worrying about your place in the world. Advice is also worrying about your way in the world. Less specific than Stereotypical. It was just like me talking to anybody who's given me like advice in in life that I didn't necessarily agree with. So it was kind of like just, I would never say that to anything to their face, but this is kind of how I'm feeling half the time when they're talking to me. So just kind of said what I would say to them. And batteries, again, is just a list of things that represent people screwing themselves over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, what do you expect if you don't open your shop? You're not going to make any money. If you're wearing sneakers in the snow, you're going to be cold. Like, what were you expecting? So, again, I literally just sat at my kitchen table and tried to think of things that represented screwing yourself over. And it felt like a useless exercise at the time. I was like, what am I doing? This is taking me forever. Don't know if this is even going to fit in the song. It just worked out. I find a lot of songwritings like that. You do a bunch of stuff and you don't know if it's going anywhere.
Lots of scrapped lines
yeah,
along the way.
A lot of garbage. Try is kind of more a thematic song, not super, super detailed.
Where do you want your music to go? Do you want it to take you anywhere, or do you want it to go in a direction that...
That's a thing I've been thinking about a lot, actually. I think I would really like to be like Taylor Swift. Like, my music doesn't really sound like something that can be consumed at that level, I don't think. At least not now. I would have to tweak things a little bit. But that might also just be ambition. Maybe that's just success. Maybe that's not for my music. Maybe I can get that somewhere else. I don't know. But yeah, ideally... I've always thought I would like to tour and be an artist and do that.
Have you toured? I know you've done a little bit throughout the province.
Yeah. I don't know. I call it a tour, but it was very small. I don't even consider that like, you know what, I'm going to take time off. I'm going dedicated on the road. Yeah. It wasn't one of those I liked in between. It was on like a Friday. The next Friday there was another show. So I don't count that as a tour really. So no, I haven't toured. I'm basically just trying to get myself known or established in New Brunswick for now, because I mostly played in St. John up till now. I'm really kind of just starting like brand new to being like, let's do this, let's make it happen, let's focus, what do I need to do to make this more like a business.
Have you tried to pair up with any local musicians and just to get a little tour or like a 4-show run or something? Yeah, actually in the shows that I did in Fredericton and Moncton, I did pair up with a couple people. Mitch Rayner in Fredericton, he's a local artist. He's on the campus radio anyway. He's done a session there anyway. He's going to school and doing his music. He's great. Yeah. So we shared the show that I did there. So he would do a couple songs, I would do a couple songs. Oh, okay. It was a really nice dynamic. I've seen artists do that. I can totally get why. So that was nice. And there's a girl, Janica Doucette in Moncton. So it helped with crowds because I'm still not super, super known. Though I'm from Moncton, I still needed to recruit some people. So that helped a little bit. But we didn't ever I've never done a co-write. So I could do that, I guess, and do more. I just haven't yet. It's a lot of work too, though. I mean, it's... Yeah. If you're still working... I find sometimes music feels like a big headache. It would be. The organization part of it. That's not an uncommon sentiment. A lot of people I talk to, that's a common... That makes me feel better. There's a guy that I interviewed from the UK, Joe McCorriston. Okay. He was touring nonstop through Europe and the UK and stuff like that. He's going alone on bus or on train with his guitar and going from city to city. But that's his passion. That's what he wants to do. Yeah. Still really pushing a hard gig. It's a really uphill battle for a long time. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah. And he just kind of took, I don't know, maybe it was 6 months off, just everything. Just put it down for a bit. Social media, form, everything except for his own personal stuff. But and now he's just getting back into it again. Yeah. I haven't done as much as him, and I feel that a little bit from time to time. It's a lot of emails and calls and do I have the gear? Do I have the lights? What time do I have to be there? All the little nitty gritty things that sound stupid, well, why would that take time? Why is that stressful? It's, well, you gotta do it. So I gotta think of everything. And I think there's also just the emotional aspect. I don't know how he felt if you're going by yourself. Scared. Some people don't even like to travel by themselves or eat dinner by themselves, let alone go put on your show, put your whole heart and soul out for an audience, and then go home by yourself to wherever you're staying. That takes a lot of guts. And oh, it does. Yeah, I can see how that would be draining, and I don't know how well received his shows are. I know I played to very small audiences sometimes, and I can get a little down about it. So there's also that. It's hit or miss. There's a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Yeah. Probably more downs for the first chunk of time than there are ups. At the same time, I'm told that's what you have to do. So it really is. You gotta pay your dues and do it. Yeah. Play to empty bars and. Yeah, and small but appreciative audiences are great. So. Yeah.
even my show in Moncton, like there wasn't a lot of people there, but I felt like everyone was really paying attention and had some really nice things to say afterwards, and that was as good as playing at like a pub where everybody's talking and not listening to you and it's full. Like, who cares?
It's wishing to make money in a store that's always closed, and hoping to keep warm while wearing sneakers in the snow. It's always leaving much too late, hoping to be on time. The skills I've always wanted but would never ever try. It's everything we could be next to everything we're not. A world full of potential in which we choose to rot. A prophecy we wrote ourselves and then we just forgot. When it's all laid out in front of me, but I can't get up, I'm feeling stuck. My empty brain gets in the way of all my luck. I just ignore what I adore. I cannot wait, I have no faith in what's in store. My batteries are sold separately. It's cleaning out your basement without ever being home. It's only paying $14 expecting a good show. It's going to the gym and simply laying on the floor. It's dying to be thinner but eating more and more. It's everything we could be next to everything we're not. A world full of potential in which we choose to rot. A prophecy we wrote ourselves and then we just forgot. When it's all laid out in front of me, but I can't get up, I'm feeling stuck. My empty brain gets in the way of all my luck. I just ignore what I adore. I cannot wait, I have no faith in what's in store. My batteries are sold separately. Tripping ourselves, we're tripping ourselves. Tripping ourselves all the time. We're tripping ourselves, tripping ourselves, tripping ourselves all the time. It's wishing to make money in a store that's always closed, and hoping to keep warm while wearing sneakers in the snow. It's always leaving much too late, hoping to be on time. The skills I've always wanted but would never ever try. It's everything we could be next to everything we're not. A world full of potential in which we choose to rot. A prophecy I wrote myself and then I just forgot. When it's all laid out in front of me, but I can't get up, I'm feeling stuck. My empty brain gets in the way of all my luck. I just ignore what I adore. I cannot wait, I have no faith in what's in store. My batteries are sold separately. My batteries are sold separately, though it's all laid out.
Best gig was probably my EP release, actually. Yeah, there was probably like 40 people there, which blew me away. Family and friends and coworkers and other musicians. It was wonderful, and I was super nervous all day long in preparation. I had a friend of mine open for me as he was playing and everyone was there, and I instantly felt comfortable. It just hit me like it's gonna be fine. And it was the happiest gig. Even while I was playing, I was thinking like, I'm having like so much fun right now. So that was probably the best one. Worst gig? I'm gonna think if I've had a worst gig. I don't like doing restaurants very much. I usually feel like my music is too loud and like I'm disturbing people. I wouldn't say there's one particular, but just restaurants in general. I feel like people are trying to have a conversation and then they're like looking at me like, they don't actually like eye me and look at me like, can you stop? But that's how I feel. They're inwardly screaming. But yeah, it's just not what they banked on. You go out for dinner, it's like, oh, what's this racket in the corner? She sounds good, but this is not what I wanted.
Yeah, maybe.
Also depends on volume a little bit, if someone's paying attention to that. That makes half the difference, I find.
Yeah, that's true too.
I have a couple things that aren't confirmed. Not a ton. My tour schedule, my show schedule, my tour schedule. I have a tour. My shows are kind of petering out. Summer's ending, and that's fine. I'm actually kind of looking forward to having a little bit time just to, write some new stuff. Maybe just take a break, frankly, and get the summer. Usually things roll up around Christmas too. A few odd things. New materials what I'm craving at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like I did the summer, played a lot. Well, a lot for me. And I'm a little bit tired of my set list at this point. So writing and covering and getting some fresh material will be nice.
So take time, work on your next EP or album, or?
Yeah, potentially. I haven't even thought of it as a concrete project at this point, but eventually, yeah.
But you kind of have that luxury too, where you don't need a concrete endpoint.
It's true.
You're on your own time. You're not, so that's good.
Yeah.
I'm confident that it's one of the better ways for a good chunk of your career to be, until you can be a little more prolific with writing. And
maybe.
So I know a lot of people start out indie, and occasionally nowadays, like, it's a different music industry than it was like 10 years ago. But
so I hear.
So if you can produce something fairly cheaply, doing it yourself, as opposed to a company spending a lot of money to do a similar sort of product, there's less pressure on you because it's
right.
Your own agenda, your own schedule.
Except deadlines are useful. I'm one of those people who does everything last minute, so I have to make myself work somehow.
Yeah.
Like in school, I always used to pull all-nighters. I would plan 2 weeks from now, I'm staying up all night. Yeah. It wasn't a planning issue. It was just that's how I worked.
Yeah.
So
that pressure.
Or just like, it's not urgent. Why don't we just go do something fun? I can't make myself do things. My whole family's kind of like that, actually. So music is kind of no different in a way. I actually tend to tell myself, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna, go to work, come home, and focus for an hour or two and just write. And just having that set out and making myself follow through with it, I tend to stumble on ideas that way. I find that some of the better songs I've written come out of, you're randomly somewhere in the city and the idea just pops in your head and you record it quickly on your phone and go home. But I find it happens less and less lately. I don't know if it's just because I'm busy or what. I don't know why exactly, but I don't have as many of those, so I have to encourage it now, which has been productive. It can be frustrating too.
How do you encourage it? What sort of exercise would you go through to get your juices flowing?
Well, there's that writing whatever comes to mind exercise. Sometimes I just pick 2 chords and just play them and sing over them, see what happens. It's called the gibberish method. Sometimes you get some insight coming out of your mouth without you thinking about it too much. Those are the main 2 ways. I know there's lots of different things that you can do. I did try there's an exercise you can do where you take a well-known song and you write lyrics over it and then just tweak the melody later so it becomes your song. Oh. Yeah, I tried that. The song itself isn't very good, but it was a nice exercise. So maybe I'll try that again. Oh, sometimes I'll just pick a chord progression and play it and do the gibberish thing on top of that. I should try a few different ways because those are the only ones I've tried so far.
So predominantly you start with lyrics and move to music?
Yeah, mostly.
Have you ever heard Tim Minchin?
Yes. Yeah, he's great. He's funny.
He's funny, but there are definitely times where he's so good at piano, and I think he knows that now, and he stopped singing during parts where he's really going off with the piano.
Virtuosic stuff. I think I've only ever seen him do it where he was doing something simple and singing, and then he would take off and stop singing for a while and play, and come back. I don't know a lot of his stuff, but
yeah, I don't
definitely great.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah,
your stuff kind of reminded me of him in a way, because some of your lyrics are almost
goofy,
but also storytelling, if that makes sense. Like the lyrical delivery is almost a bit of a story.
And he does kind of theatery kind of things too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And he is just comic by trade, I guess. So
did he start out as a comic or a musician?
Musician, because that's what he has his masters and he's got honorary doctorates and stuff like that from different universities. Yeah. I don't know how many graduations he's spoken at. If you ever get a chance, look them up because they're hilarious. But I think he moved into comedy as he got a little bit older.
Yeah, I love comedy too.
It's a good mix. Like if you can blend the two, there's probably a reason not many people do it.
Yeah.
To get it.
At one point, I watched a bunch of comedy and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should be a comedian. And I would start doing the napkin thing where you write down any idea that you're in your car and that comes to mind. It didn't last very long. And I don't think I'm actually going to do it because that sounds scary as heck to get up in front of a mic. And
It would be terrifying.
like with music, you get the comfort of knowing I've practiced this. I know how this is going to go, whether the audience likes it or not. Chances are they'll be okay with it.
Right.
You know, there's no, are they going to think it's funny? I feel like that's a harder thing to gauge.
Plus, delivery is really hard.
Right.
I've seen comedians with good jokes and bad delivery,
Right.
or just their character isn't matching with the crowd, or
Okay.
it
Yeah.
would be terrifying.
And it's supposedly something you have to like figure out on stage, like
Pretty much.
Respect.
Read
but-
a crowd.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
No.
A few of my friends are comedians, and I've watched the progression of them learning the craft, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
And some of the earlier days were very
Yeah.
rough. But, I mean,
You gotta admire also that they just keep with it.
yeah.
Because that's a thing that could crush you the first time you bomb and everyone's like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you could say the same for music to a point, but that's like so much of music's so much of you and your soul, I suppose. But
Music's a little different, though. So
Yeah.
with comedians, it really is reading a crowd and delivery, and you kind of have to shift certain things of what you're doing to suit your audience to a degree.
yeah, I suppose with songs you just choose a different mood of song. With comedy, you'd be like, well, I have to choose a whole different topic. Like,
Yes, in
what
some
if you
cases,
don't have
I'm
anything
sure you
else?
would.
Ugh,
Yeah,
weird.
I don't envy them.
No, wow.
It's an art, that's for sure.
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask me if my music is inspired by musical theater. I was like so set for that to be like
Oh,
your
really?
second question. Yeah.
Musical theater.
The answer is no. I've just had so many people ask me. I was so sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like musical theater, but it hasn't influenced me any more than any other style of music. It's
Yeah.
not like I put on musical theater whenever I have need to listen to something. Been in a couple musicals growing up, but that's it. For some reason, my music sounds like theater a little bit. I don't know why. Yeah, usually people are like, you sound like Disney, you sound like Broadway or something.
Maybe slapped a song into a musical or something.
Yeah.
Maybe you should write a musical.
I know everyone keeps saying that. That wasn't the intent. I haven't seriously considered it yet, but maybe I'll pull a Tim Minchin. He wrote a musical. Did you see? I actually saw it in Toronto.
Oh, really?
Not Madeline. What's the girl's name? Matilda.
Matilda?
Yeah, it was great. He wrote the
Matilda?
music at least.
Oh, okay.
Not the story, but they did a
Wow.
musical, and yeah, he did all the music and the songs and the lyrics and everything.
Interesting.
Unless I'm largely mistaken, but I'm pretty sure he did everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. He's of that caliber anyway.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine the lyrical content being Tim Minchin.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it was appropriate to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
When you said that, though, at first I was like, oh, is it like, what kind of story would he come up with to...
Oh, no. It was pretty true to... I've only seen the movie. It's a book, I think, but
I've only seen the movie too when I was younger.
But it was matched up with what I remembered. Yeah.
I'll have to seek that out.
Yeah, I don't know where you can find that, if you can find it. Like, everyone's talking about Hamilton. Where's Hamilton? I haven't seen it. Nowhere to be found. I haven't looked that hard, though.
When I heard it, the first, I kind of got Ben Folds a little bit.
Ben Folds. I've heard his name before. I don't know his music.
Really?
No.
Oh, wow. You should definitely look him up.
I'll Google him.
He had a couple projects. Ben Folds 5 is the first one. So it's him. He plays piano and sings.
Okay.
Bass, drummer.
Is he one of those ones I'll know his music if I heard it?
Probably. He had
Yeah.
a few big singles that were on the radio for a little while.
Oh, okay.
But he has other solo projects where it's just him and piano.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like pop rock music. It's not necessarily... He's not funny or anything. Some of the songs are funny, but he's a pop artist, I guess, just straight up.
yeah.
But really talented. And some of your stuff reminded me of him a little bit.
Huh.
The way that his narrative stuff works is similar to some of your songs.
All right. Well, I'll have to check him out. I'm always trying to figure out who I sound like, because people ask me, and I'm like, I have no idea. I get Amanda Palmer quite a bit, so
Yeah, I
but
can
not
see that
not
as
really
well.
though. So
Bust out with the ukulele a little more.
yeah, I don't play anything else. I really should. See, you have a collection.
I do.
Yes, you play them, I take it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Dabble here and there.
You do father-son duos?
Haven't yet.
No.
These two.
That's too uncool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we have a nice community here for a small place.
I think it's really embracing for musicians as well.
Very much so. And people really support each other and give you advice, and they'll like, refer each other to things. It's really heartwarming.
It's quite often $5 shows here or there to go to. Or
Yeah. The show's happening like almost too often. I don't get to them all. And I feel bad about
don't
it.
get to any of them, I'll be honest. I work a lot of nights, so I miss a lot of...
Darn.
I do miss a lot of shows, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but I do not want to be like you. You say you can teach me, but I do not want to be like you. my peace of mind, 'cause I've got more advice than I can handle. I've got more advice than I can take. I've got more advice than I can palate. I've got more advice than I can fake having interest in anymore. I'll sit here and listen, add your words to my catalog inside. I'll sit here and listen, then fail to reconcile, to live and to survive. I cannot tell what I think anymore. Too many people telling me how I should live. I cannot tell what I think anymore. Too many people inside my head. You say I'm wandering, but I just need to take my time. You say I'm wandering, I'm sorting through the junk that surrounds my peace of mind, 'cause I've got more advice than I can handle. I've got more advice than I can take. I've got more advice than I can palate. I've got more advice than I can fake having interest in anymore. Maybe I could use a new direction, but I need to know what I want. I'm always open to suggestions, but now I do not know my own mind. No, I cannot tell what I think anymore. I cannot tell you anything more. I've got more advice than I can handle. I've got more advice than I can take. I've got more advice than I can palate. I've got more advice than I can fake having interest in any. I cannot tell what I think anymore. No, I cannot tell you anything. Yeah, more. I've got more advice than I can handle. I've got more advice than I can take. I've got more advice than I can palate. I've got more advice than I can fake having interest in anymore.
That's what tired me. It's all that jumping.
Yeah.
On this episode, we're joined by pianist, vocalist Aryelle Morrison. We'll talk a bit about her latest EP, Stereotypical, some of life's influence on her music, and of course some of the musical influences. So sit back, sip your poison, and enjoy the ride. I'm Kalen Capson, and this is the Pagan Place Podcast. You obviously started playing piano as a child,
Yeah.
and then you kind of grew into songwriting, things like that.
Yeah. I feel like partly I cheated because taking piano as a kid, like a lot of the hard work I don't remember learning the instrument.
Yeah.
I just already kind of knew it when I started thinking about writing. So, yeah, if you learn an instrument, that helps. It's a good starting place. And just try not to overthink things. I overthink everything. So just write a bunch of crappy songs and don't be embarrassed by them. I think that's important because you're going to stumble on the good stuff. People say that a lot. That's not really me giving advice. And then from there, find an open mic and go. And if you're lucky, there'll be some really nice people there who will point you in the right direction and give you some guidance what to work on next. I find it's hard to know where you are if you're ready for the next step in your, make an EP or do a couple shows out of your town. Like that's where I am, and I never would have been able to tell myself that I was ready for that. So if you're lucky enough to have some feedback and people encouraging you, that's good. Social media is important, unfortunately. I hate it, and I really need to post more often. Oh, and learn about the arts associations. Like Music New Brunswick, Music NB is amazing. They have grants. If you need a website and you don't have the money for it, apply. There's emerging artist grant that they will give you money to do whatever you have. If you research it and tell them what you need it for, they will give you money. And touring, there's money. Oh, go to conferences. I'm new to this too. There's the East Coast Music Award or Music Association, and the Music NB has a Festival 506. Good way to meet industry people. They have lectures, they have shows. So those are interesting. I'm still learning how to use those effectively. So yeah, there's just money and resources and things that you probably don't realize are out there. I only just recently learned about that. Also, just trying to make friends with other musicians and be around them. They will inspire you if you're feeling like you don't know where it's going, if it's going anywhere. Just be inspired by other musicians doing their thing and playing music. I need to, that's advice to myself too, to not always be going somewhere. Just like try to enjoy what you're doing and just for the sake of it. Yeah.
I was talking to Adam Washburn. I don't know if you know
yeah,
Adam Washburn.
I know. I don't know him well, but I know him.
He reiterates that a lot. Especially this last year. He's kind of been reassessing where his music's going and stuff like that, because he really pushed it really hard for a while after his first album came out. And then he just sort of got into the frame of mind of, let's just be present for a little bit and enjoy what's already there and take my time writing stuff.
I'll have to go back and listen to his interview. I'm curious what he says.
Because I had him on twice. The first one and the second one, a little bit different. Just like, for the next thing, I'm just going to sit and record stuff alone. And
yeah, because he had a full band thing before that. I have his CD. Yeah. I spoke to him, like, I just met him briefly, and yeah, I know he thinks that's important for your soul, just to not be out for your fame and your own glory. Just do what the music needs. Because he's a force of nature. He actually, I think he really lives that. He walked off the stage, I saw him at 5 at the time, and I thought, like, how does he have any energy to walk? Like, he's a shell of a man, shouldn't he be, at least? Weird.
When he's on stage, he is a totally different person.
Yeah.
Like, just something else takes over. And
he's very quiet in real life.
Yeah, super quiet.
It's funny.
I love the guy. He's a great guy. He's a different character. He's a different beast altogether when he's not on stage. Just to meet him, you would never know that he could pick up a guitar and whip out stuff that he does.
Yeah.
But that's experience too. Like, that's...
Yeah. I definitely don't always feel like that, even after your release. But I guess you just make your own comfort. He knows his songs, and he's just gonna go out and... Yeah, well, that's one thing I worry about.
Yeah.
Every time before a show, I always end up going over, if not all my songs, like certain ones, because I'm scared that I'm gonna like blank out. That used to happen to me when I was growing up. They have these classical like little music festivals where they give you a grade and a place, and if you do well, you can move on to provincials. I never moved on to provincials. But I also hated it. It was a joyless experience. You show up, you're nervous, everybody's nervous, the place is quiet, you don't get to warm up. Then you go to this piano and you're supposed to play your best performance to get judged. Like, that's not a real situation in any way, shape, or form. And I blanked out a lot. Probably I didn't know how to practice. That might just be a growing up thing. But yeah, it still colors me to this day. I'm like, what if I get up there and I can't remember what the next chord is? Like, that's embarrassing.
It scarred you.
Yeah, I just made a banner with my face and my name on it. I can't put a banner up and then forget all my songs. Like, well, if you're playing like out in public at some random do and you're making a mistake and you're kind of making an impression for the first time, that's when I worry.
Yeah.
Which is like all the time, because I'm nobody yet.
Have you ever thought of involving other people in your writing process?
I have.
Like other musicians or other... Yeah.
I've been thinking about co-writing lately, and it's come up a couple times with a few people. Some that live in Fredericton, so it's just been more like an organizing a time we're never in the same place issue, and also just deciding when to do it. I think that would be just an adventure. That's not something I've tried, and might freshen up the songwriting, gets the juices flowing.
Treat it as a project, and you never know what'll
come out.
Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but if it does.
Yeah, and I don't have like a band per se. That just, I don't know, it just hasn't come together. I haven't really seriously pursued it for whatever reason. I guess I just didn't feel like the time was right. I'm not exactly sure why I'm not. I think it's partly the material, actually.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think how I can make it a little bit more mainstream. The musical theaterness is fine, but that's just kind of what happened. I don't know exactly why. So I'm trying to take a little more control over it in the future and try to have like a more pop sound, simpler piano, and something that people can easily join into. What I have now is kind of, it's its own thing. There's not a lot of room to add to it.
It's definitely a good poppy EP.
Yeah.
That would be a challenge, I think, with just a piano. So when I do hear people pulling it off successfully, it's just like, wow.
Yeah. But it's not like what you hear on the radio at all. So.
Although some Ben Folds, when he was...
Ben Folds. I'm sure I looked him up at one point.
His first big hit is called Breck. It's actually not even that... It's a really sad song. But it's not even that poppy. I don't even know why it was on the radio so much at the time, but it's a really good song. But he has a lot of stuff off that same album that was really upbeat and poppy, and sometimes he would just throw a bass line in there over the piano or some simple drums. And I mean, he wrote everything.
Oh, yeah.
But even on his solo stuff, where it's just him on piano, he really pulls the pop strings, and it's impressive.
Okay, well, I'm definitely looking him up then.
Worth looking into. You might hate him. I don't know.
I know his name.
So what inspirations do you have for your writing?
I think the first one was kind of a minor one, actually. Just watching movies, the movie themes. It came up in my family. They were like, well, why don't you write the next movie theme? And I was like, oh yeah, impressionable young kid. Didn't actually follow that route. So that was like the first thing, catchy tunes that you can think of. In high school, I used to listen to Billy Talent going to sleep. I would fall asleep to it. And that's ridiculous. So I listened to them for like 2 or 3 years, and that was all I listened to. It was crazy. And I knew all the songs like in order, what album, anyway. And I just like the power of their music, and then the lyrical content, how they're very visual, and you can like see the room that they're in, or I just thought it was very evocative. So it was listening to their music and being like, I can create like a character that goes through all these songs and lives through all these things. That's so powerful, and that's what made me want to do the same thing. I was like, I want to be cool and do this just like these guys do. So that was the first thing. And then, of course, Queen was the other one. We had 2 greatest hits albums. I mostly know their greatest hits. They're just so wacky and eclectic stylistically. Yeah. And dramatic. So they were also one of the bands that I was like, wow, I want to try this. This is cool. They have a little theatricalness to them, so maybe that's a little bit of theater.
Definitely have some theatrics.
Yeah. So those were the main 2 bands that listening to it. I was like, wow, that's just so cool. Let me do that.
Billy Talent and Queen.
Odd combination.
It is an odd combination.
Yeah, but I play the piano, so it's hard to sound like, well, Freddie Mercury, I guess.
It's quite the dichotomy.
Yeah.
Anything that made you feel that you could transpose your music that you're normally used to hearing with the full band, or
I know
something rock onto to piano, or was it just?
I feel like what I write,
just did it?
Yeah, it just comes out the way it does. I have like advice is kind of heavier, and I feel like the chords, they're like broken chords you just repeat. It's kind of like strumming a guitar in a way. So that's like my heaviest song. So maybe that has some influence to some heavier songs. But yeah, I think it's because I play the piano. Whatever I write gets filtered through that, what you have to do to play the piano. And I'm a girl too, so I write things differently than a man would, I guess. I've been told that I definitely write geared to women. Something about being like, even when you're angry, you're a little bit thoughtful. This is what someone told me. So I guess it gets filtered through all those things and came out really gentle. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if some of them I would say are gentle.
They're a little in your face. Maybe that's the common aspect to the people that inspired me.
It's a tragedy, but we all call it normal. To be the best of friends, then simply disappear. And it's a sign of strength to never talk about them, just erase them from our lives. Call me romantic, or is everyone a cynic? Heck, maybe I'm a masochist, just choosing to be weak. But I can't walk around here and pretend that someone precious is not still on my mind. And maybe that's why it's been a year
very real way what you want in your life and analyze what you think you want to make sure that it is what you want, and then do it. That's a very simplified version of life. There's money and relationships and families and lots to complicate things. Just try to make yourself happy. And thank you for listening. I really appreciate that people actually follow my stuff, and apparently they see it on Facebook. I post stuff and I'm like, oh, I don't know if anyone's seeing it, but a few people have told me that they see my stuff. So I appreciate your interest and thank you for following along. What I do sometimes only feels meaningful because people see it. I like to think that I do things just to do things, but I like people to pay attention. Yeah. And thank you for having me, Kid.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Hey, this is Dave Maz, and...
It isn't.
No. Hey, you're listening to Dave Maz, and this is the Pagan Place Podcast.